Hi everyone. Today I'd like to share with you a project that I've been working on to provide personalized emailed assessment feedback. And so I'm going to show you what it looks like once we push all the buttons, and then I'll show you how we built this. So once this is all set up, we'll click on the custom menu button and we'll click send email. If you're running the script for the first time, you'll click continue, and you'll use the Google account that you're sending this from. You'll click advanced, and then you'll click go to send feedback unsafe. This is totally safe, by the way. And then it will say it wants access to your Google account. You'll click allow, and then you'll click accept. And then we'll try this again because now we've given it permissions, and we'll click send email. And so it'll say running script, and then depending on how many students you selected to send the email to, you should get, it should finish. So now I'm going to go and check my email, and you should see an email right here. It says Unit 1 Mid-Unit Assessment Feedback, and you should get an email that looks like this. Hi David, thank you for submitting Unit 1 Mid-Unit Assessment. Please review the feedback on how you performed on the assessment. And then it will say, here's the question, question number this, assessed you on this learning target. I can use circles to justify why two segments have the same length. You scored 0 out of 1 points. If you did not score full points, you can prepare for reassessment by reviewing the following information. And then it will repeat this for each question on the assessment until you get to the bottom, where it will say you scored a total of 7 out of 16 points, which corresponds to a mastery score of 2. If you have any additional questions, please visit me during office hours. Sincerely, and there's my information. So what this will do is it will send every student an email that starts with their own name. It will say what the assessment was called, and then it will identify each question number, each learning target, what they scored on that question, how many points were possible for that question, and then give them some feedback. And then at the end, it will tell them how many points they scored in total, out of how many points in total, what their mastery score was, if there's an alignment or a curve or anything, and then it will end with a signature. So how did we build something like this? Well, this is built in JavaScript. So in order to build this, we went to Tools, and we will go to the Script Editor. And there's a bunch of code in here that makes this spreadsheet run. So let's go ahead and talk about what's happening. So the very first piece of code is right here. And this just opens the spreadsheet that's active right now. So the next piece of code is going to figure out what's the sheet within the spreadsheet, right? Because we've got the whole document. The whole document is this whole document called Grading SY22 Public. Then we have to figure out which of these sheets is the one that's currently selected. So that's this one, Unit 1 Mid-Unit Assessment. Okay, so that tells us that we're in that sheet. Then we need to figure out what's the name of that sheet, because we're going to use that in our custom email that we send. Okay, so when we go, we look for this information, Unit 1 Mid-Unit Assessment. That's this piece of code. Then once we have our sheet name, we're going to be able to add the word feedback onto it. So we've added this variable, sheet name, which we declared earlier, and then we put a plus sign, we put a little space there, and we added on feedback, because we're going to use that in our custom email template. And then this piece of code is just going to read all of the data from the whole spreadsheet, just that one sheet. It's just going to pull all of the values into memory so that we can start messing with it. Okay? After we've pulled in all of that data, we're going to look for the introduction to our email. Okay? So we're going to find this in the first row, and this is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, so the 5th column. Okay, so when we go here, oh, sorry, right here, the 5th column. Okay, when you do indexing in JavaScript, it's like the number -1. So this is the intro to our email. It's going to say, hi, placeholder for name. Thank you for submitting placeholder for sheet name. Please review the following feedback on how you performed in the assessment. So what we need to do is we need to replace this placeholder with the name of the spreadsheet, because that spreadsheet is going to be named according to what this assessment was. So that's the very first thing that happens here, is we've fixed the template so that we've replaced sheet name with the name of the sheet. Then this code is going to tell us how many frozen rows and how many frozen columns we have. Okay? Because the number of frozen rows and columns is going to tell us where our data starts. We're going to have all of our question data is going to be the number of frozen columns plus 1, and then our student data is going to be the number of frozen rows plus 1. That's where this data is going to start. Then the last question is going to be the last value in row 1. So we're going to figure out when we go to our spreadsheet, right, this spreadsheet is going to stop at question number 9. So this is going to tell us this is our last value in our first row. Okay, so that lets the spreadsheet know when to stop. This piece of code is going to figure out the index of the last question. So it's going to take the information that we just found out, what value that was, and it's going to figure out where it is in the spreadsheet. So it's going to figure out, what's the location of this value within the spreadsheet. Okay. Then this is going to figure out what the number of total points possible is, and we've stored that data right here. Total points possible is in the 6th column, 5th row, right? So that's located there. And then we're going to fix the conclusion of the email. We're going to be replacing the placeholder for total with the actual total, right? The total points. So when we go here to the conclusion, it's going to say you scored a total of this many earned points out of this many total points. So this placeholder right here is going to get updated with this value that we've just pulled, the 16. Okay, so then this piece of code is going to figure out the total number of questions. Okay, so the total number of questions is we're going to figure out when do the questions stop, and then we're going to subtract when the number of frozen columns, and then we're going to add 1. Okay, so that's basically saying right here, if I go from my very first row, column A, all the way out to here, okay, I don't know how many columns I've selected here, but I've selected up to column Q. If I remove all of these columns, the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, then I'll get the number of questions that we have. Okay, so we'll declare that as the number of questions. Then this piece of code right here is going to figure out all of the header data. Okay, and so this header data is going to be a 2D array. It's going to be a length times a width, and it's going to tell us we're going to start at the beginning, start at the very first row, and we're going to use the number of frozen columns as where to start, right? So that's going to tell us, so this is our last frozen column. This header data, I want to start right after it. So I'm looking for this two-dimensional array right here. Okay, so I know that this information is going to tell me start at the first row and start at the column that's right after the number of frozen columns. Then I know to end, my end row is going to be the number of frozen rows. So that's going to tell me I'm going to stop right here. And then the end column is the same as the last question index. So that's telling me I'm going to end this 2D array right over here. Then we're going to call all of that the header data, and we're going to do a slice and map here to get all of it formatted the way we want it to format. Okay? So this is going to put everything where it's supposed to go. After we've got all of our header data nicely situated, then we're going to pull the body template, and that's where most of the magic is going to happen. Okay, so in the body template, we're going to pull in our sheet data from 1.4 and add some blank lines. This /n and /n is going to be blank lines. Okay, so here is our message template right here, and we're going to be adding a couple of line breaks after it so that when it's sent in the email that we saw earlier, it's going to have a 1-line break here and 1-line break here so that each question is like its own visual separated piece. Okay. Then we're going to start with a blank array. It's kind of like getting a blank sheet of paper. And what we're going to do is for each question, we're going to take that template and we're going to replace the placeholders with the actual values from each row. So what this is going to do is it's going to do all of the header data first. So it's going to take this information right here, the question number, and it's going to pull it from the first row, row number 1. So it's going to pull all of this data. Then it's going to pull the learning target, which is here in row 2. Then it's going to pull the points possible, which is right here in row 5. Then it's going to pull the feedback, which is right here in row 4. So all of this information is going to get added to this template. Okay? After we've got all of that information right here added to the template, we're going to add each of those paragraphs one on top of another. Okay? So we're going to have this big long template that's going to have everything it needs except for the students' scores, right? Because that's the only piece that's missing. The students' names, their points that they've earned, their mastery score, and then their points, right? The data row is what's missing now. So after we've got this general template, we're going to start building our message. Okay? And the message is going to be, we're going to be putting the intro and the body, which is our array that we've created here, and then our conclusion. So we're going to basically stack these three right here, the intro, body, and conclusion, which are these 3 parts right here, one on top of another. Okay, so if you see in the email, that's going to be, this part is the intro, and then this part right here is the body, all of this all the way down to question 9. And then this part right here is the conclusion. Okay, so all of that is stacked one on top of another. Then we're going to do one more loop, and what this is going to do is it's going to loop through for each student. It's going to pull out their name, how many points they earned, and their mastery score. Okay, so that's going to pull their name from this column, column E, their points earned, which is this column, and then their mastery score. I'm just going to add that to the name is going to go up in the intro, and then the points earned and the mastery score is going to go down in the conclusion. And then within that, there's a second for loop that's going to pull their scores for each question. Okay, so what this is going to do is it's going to take all of these datas, all of this information, and it's going to go through the message template that we've added, and it's going to start replacing all of those values. Okay? So at the end of it, after this, all of these scores have been replaced, then we just need to tell the computer who to send the email to. So that's going to find the data here in the spreadsheet right here in this column. It's going to be column 4, right? And they're going to find this email address. And then once we've got the recipient of the email, we've already specified the subject way at the beginning, right? That's going to be the title of the assessment plus the word feedback. And then we've figured out what message we're going to send. Then we just send the email. And so this is going to specify who's going to receive it. That's what we did right here. What our subject is, which was all the way at the beginning. That's the subject of our email. And then the body is what we just created, all of that big long message. Okay? Once all of that's done, then we're going to mark everybody who got the email sent with the checkbox. Right? So right down here, you see that I've got a checkbox here that says this checkbox represents that I already sent them an email. Okay? So for example, if I unclick these checkboxes, and I unclick these checkboxes, right now the checkboxes on the left are who I want to send the email to. Okay, so for example, if I want to send the email to Matthew Hamilton, I would click this checkbox. Okay? Then, if I want to send an email to David, I would click the checkbox. Okay? But in order to make sure that I don't keep sending emails to people that I've already sent the email to, I can go over here and click this checkbox to say I've already sent it to Matthew, so I only want to send it to David. So this is basically telling the computer, I want you to skip anybody who's got this check mark over here. Okay, so that's what this is going to do over here. It's going to make sure that we set those values to true. Okay. Then at the end of it all, it's going to put all of our modified data back into the spreadsheet. Okay, so it's gonna fix all of it, all of these values that we set to be true. It's gonna set them back into the spreadsheet. After everything's done, it's going to update our quota, which is going to tell us how many emails we're allowed to send. So you can see up here, it says I can send 99 more emails today because this is a personal Gmail account. You can send 100 emails per day. So this is going to let me know how many I have left. If you have a school or a work account, your quota will probably be 1,500. And so you'll be able to send enough for all of your students or for probably most of your colleagues. If you're on a personal account, obviously you won't be able to send that many per day. Then at the very end, you should have a little message that says, success, your emails have been sent. And then the final piece of this code right here is adding the custom menu item, which is going to allow us to run this code from within the spreadsheet right here. So this adds custom menu right here, and it adds the custom function that we just built, which is send email. Okay, so right now I'm going to send this email, and I'm going to show you that it's going to send the email to both of these. So I'm going to get two emails. One is going to be addressed to Matthew, and one is going to be addressed to David, and it's going to have these numbers. It's going to have 3 and 7 points for a score of 1 and 2, and it's going to have all of these values in here for each of the questions. Okay, so let's go ahead and run this script one more time, and let's see what happens. I'm going to send the email. It's going to run the script, and we now see that these boxes have been checked to show that those emails have been sent. And now if we go back to our inbox, we should see that we received 2 emails. One of them was addressed to Matthew, and one of them was addressed to David. Okay, so Matthew was the one who scored 3 out of 16 points, which was the mastery score of 1. And that's what we had right here. And then the other person was David. David received 7 out of 16 points, which corresponds to the mastery score of 2. Okay, and that is what we had here. Okay. So that is how to build a spreadsheet that can email personalized assessment feedback to students automatically. And I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one.